So there are a lot of people who want to be successful. There are a lot of people who have these dreams. There are a lot of people who have ambitions. There are a lot of people who want to do these great things. You want to retire your parents. You want to buy them a home, or you want to buy your mom a car. You want to buy your dad a car. But majority of the people don't think, or they don't behave how they want to see themselves. But the majority of the people lack that vision. You have dreams, and then you have visions. Your vision is how you see yourself in the next 10 years, how you communicate with people in the next 10 years, how you carry yourself in front of people, in front of audience, society in the next 10 years. Those things matter a lot. How are you going to be functioning in the next 10 years when it comes towards your business, when it comes towards your relationships, or whatever you want to do, especially when it comes towards money? How are you going to approach money? How are you going to be able to do that? That's a vision. That's where you want to see where you're going to go. Because like a lot of times we can open up a business, right? We open up a business, we're very excited, we're very passionate about this business. Whatever business that is, you're going to open that business and you're going to be excited in the beginning, and then soon afterwards all that excitement goes away. After 6 months of doing the same thing day in and day out, all that excitement goes away. By the 8th month, 9th month, you're like stuck in this dilemma. Oh man, like this business isn't producing any income. We're kind of slow. We're still in the hole. We're at break even almost, but we're not quite at break even. So maybe at break even, we're going to stop the business. Like a lot of people have these thoughts, and that's the reason why a lot of businesses, they don't pass that 1 year mark, because a lot of time people don't give it time. There's a difference. I heard this the other day. What it was, be afraid of the man who thinks in different time frames. What that means is, be afraid of the man who thinks in the 5-year term, or the 10-year term, or the 15-year term. Because I was having a conversation with somebody, a buddy of mine, really close friend of mine, and we were talking about, different cars and what we can get, what we can achieve, stuff like that. And I was talking about what kind of a difficult decision it was for me to actually go buy the Ferrari F8 I bought for like $400,000. It was very simple. We're like, okay, so the reasons that built up to the point that I could just go and buy the car, it was that I should spend 10% of what I made this year towards the car. So let's say we made about, in trading, my other businesses, that's all alone, that's a bonus, right? So I took that 10% and I put that into a car, and then we started talking about, okay, what could we do to upgrade this to, let's say, a Bugatti Chiron. That's like $4-5 million car. We're like, okay, you know what? We may need to get to 10 million or 15-20 million to be able to say easily that, okay, now we have this car. So those are the time frames I think, and I'm like, maybe in the next 10 or 5 years, I may be able to afford a car like that. So I'm constantly thinking about in the next 10 years, in the next 5 years, and how I'm going to be able to behave. How am I going to be able to carry myself? If I'm going to be successful, I have to think about what successful people do. Successful people think about routines. They think about the next 5 years. What am I going to be? Where am I going to be in the next 10 years? 15 years, 20 years? What's my goal? Man, listen. But when you have people that think about where they're going to be in the next month, in the next 6 months, in the next year, what car they're going to get next week or next month, don't be afraid of those people. They're looking at a very short-term goal. Their goals are so small that when you look at those goals, you're like, okay, yeah, it's basically not a big deal. So the idea is very simple. You have to focus on the things that you can control in the next 5 to 10 years. When I look at my parents, I look at my friends' parents and stuff like that, whatever they have built, they built that in the last 20 years, 25 years, 30 years. They didn't rush. There was no rushing at that time. You know why there was no rushing at that time? Of course, there were people who were super successful than them, but there was no social media. Because when you have social media now, with one click of a button, you can see someone who's super successful than you. And you start to think, oh shit, I need to get there in the next year, or I need to get there in the next 6 months. I want people to see what I have achieved. If you go through that route, if you go down that path, man, listen, that's a very expensive path. You may not be financially where you want to be in the next 10 years. You may not be there now. You may not be there in this whole year or the next year and next 2 years. But remember this, if you try to get there super fast, you're going to have very little income left. It's a very, very important concept. Wherever you want to be in the next 5 years, let's say you want to have 2 supercars and 2 or 3 homes paid off in the next 5-10 years. That's going to happen in 5-10 years. Bro, that's going to happen in 5-10 years. Like, if you're 30, that may happen by the time you're 35 or 36. But that will not happen by the time you're in 31 or 32, other than the fact you win a fucking lottery. So the way how I see myself, I started to get really good gains when I was like 30, 31, you know, and I had this vision in mind that maybe the next 5 years, I may have 1 or 2 homes paid off, and then I'm going to start to look at some supercars. You know, but now what I have more than 2 homes paid off in different countries, and now I'm starting to think about accumulating supercars and trying to do some things to them. Those things happen with time. It always takes time. It's not going to happen in a day, in a year, in 2 years. It takes time, man. 5-10 years. So when you look at social media, don't look at that and then look at yourself. Don't rush the process. Trust the process and truly enjoy the process, because once you reach to that level where you wanted to reach, you're gonna have all these memories of things you did before, you were before, or like, you know, you had before, and now look what you got. That's what memories are made of, and that's where memories they serve a purpose. Take care.